Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Our guest today is Ashley Dashner. Healthcare is our garden, and we are the seeds, and you can become a flower or you can become a weed. Bloom where you're planted, become an angel full of compassion, where flowers and compassion grow, so does hope. On April 22nd, 2019, twin sisters Ashley and Amanda created Judy's Angels Project. Just 2 months prior to their Grandma Judi went home to be with Jesus on February 22nd. Watching their grandma in and out of three different facilities for unexpected last 27 days of her life, her hope had been stolen by a doctor, and quickly it was noticed that she was wishing for certain caregivers to be working or not to be working. There just seems to be a real lack of compassion in healthcare. The workers that Grams wished for were because that she could tell that they care. Family wished upon certain coworker or healthcare workers because they could tell that they really care. Wouldn't it be nice to create an environment where you don't have to wish for certain caregivers because all of the caregivers care? The scariest thing in the world is to watch your vulnerable loved one being cared for by people who that you fear can't possibly care as much as you do. This project is to remind healthcare workers in the Michiana area for now that we are caregivers and are angels sent by God to make a difference in our patients' lives. We are all Judy's angels, Jerry's angels, and Mary's angels. Hi, Ashley, and welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I am so excited. So, I first learned about Judy's Angels because I got to be one of them.
You were, yes, you were nominated.
Yes, I was. I was nominated and got to stand in front of these beautiful angel wings and the letter that I got, which we're going to talk about in a minute because I want you
Yeah.
to share the whole Dirty Dancing story.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
tell us all about, so who was Judy, and tell us about Judy's Angels.
Okay, so my grandma, she was the most amazing person, and the day after she passed, I don't know if this is a part of grief because I haven't really had to go through a bunch of loss, but the day after, I just could not help but feel so sorry for the people that didn't end up getting to know her. And we weren't ready for her to leave, and we weren't ready to lose her or for her story to be done. And so I'm so happy that I listened to God and that He told me her story didn't have to end. And I'm so grateful that I get to share her beauty with so many people. We have the Judy's Angels wings. The first one went to Creekside, and I get to walk by those wings every day. And there's a picture of her next to it, and I get to walk by and talk to her every morning. She was a florist, and she would make the most beautiful arrangements. And my sister and I would just sit there and watch in amazement, her putting all these flowers together and how beautiful it would look in the end. And now we get to make these angel wings that are made of flowers in her name. And we just hope and pray she's watching in amazement. She just taught us so much through example, and she showed us to never give up. And no matter what, she always held on to faith and hope.
And how old was your grandma when she passed away?
78. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And she was only in a healthcare facility for about 27 days?
Yeah, yeah, she was in and out. So what started a couple years ago, well, a while ago, she was diagnosed with skin cancer on her eyelid, and she had to have a section of her eyelid removed. And the doctors had told her, they had removed a frozen section, which is a parameter around the cancerous growth. And they were sure that, once they removed it, it wouldn't return. Well, then some time had passed, and a little bit of it had come back. So she went in for a second surgery. And they said, not to worry. They took an even bigger section, and that they got it all that time. They were 100% sure it would not come back. Well, the third time that it came back, I mean, you only have so much eyelid to lose before
Right.
it just made it difficult for her to blink. And She had to do eye drops, and it affected her tear ducts and everything. And but after that third surgery, we thought everything was in the clear. So time had passed, and she had ended up finding a lump in her breast. And she went in, and the doctor said they didn't think it had anything to do with her eye, that it was completely different, but they did take the lump out and test it, and it did end up coming back cancerous. So she had the cancer removed, and the doctors told her she'd have to do the chemo and radiation, everything. And when she was taking the medicine to fight off the cancer cells that remained in her breast, her eye became inflamed too. And we all worried, oh my gosh, the cancer's back. Well, not only was it back, but her eyeball was affected this time as well. So then she had to face the hard reality that continuing to fight would mean losing her eye. And, we talked with her, and we said she wouldn't let us give up, but, we're not going to let her give up. She was going to continue the fight. So this all just happened right before Thanksgiving of 2019. So after the surgery, everything, they had removed the eye, and she had done her medicine and everything was in the clear again. We could all breathe easy. We thought everything was done. Well, she started having a difficult time breathing. And so my grandpa called the ambulance one night, and that's when she was taken to Memorial Hospital at the beginning of February of last year. And before family could even get there that morning, a doctor made the decision to give her the news while she lay in the hospital bed all by herself. And he told her that she was terminal and the cancer had moved to her lungs, and that she should really consider hospice. I mean, the sheer panic that my family faced as we all had to hurry up and drive. I'm sorry, I hope I can keep it together. We had to drive to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, my grandma was staring blankly at the wall. And she glanced over at me. She wasn't smiling, and she just didn't look like my grandma. And she said, he signed my death certificate, and I'd be crying if I could, but I can't. I was outraged that a doctor had taken it upon himself to steal my grandma's hope in a matter of seconds. I had so many questions for that doctor, like what gave him the right to decide she was able to take on that kind of news alone? Where was the compassion in delivering such tragic news? Why couldn't he wait until family was present before giving her that kind of news? And I used all my adrenaline and everything to tell my grandma. I've known so many people that were on hospice for years and years, not to give her a false sense of hope, but just to give her a little bit of hope back in, because I just wanted to change the way she was looking. I mean, you could just tell the rug had been ripped right out from underneath her, and she wasn't ready for her story to end. And even if that doctor knew my grandma wasn't going to be able to fight it this time, she deserved to live out her last days a fighter, like she had always done before, and it wasn't his right to take that from her.
I agree. And so did she have to go through any type of treatment at all then, or did they just move her from the hospital into a healthcare facility?
Yeah, they moved her into a healthcare facility afterwards, because they said, there was nothing they could do. She was going to get a PET scan, and they really didn't give us, detrimental information. We thought, she was going to move into a facility. We were going to restore her health. She was going to be able to continue fighting it. But unfortunately, we didn't realize how bad it really was.
And was her health pretty good up until that point?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see somebody so healthy and walking around, and then all of a sudden they're in a facility, and you're trying to explain to people like, this isn't my grandma. I think some people just, when you get the first impression of a patient that comes in, you kind of see them and you think like this is their baseline. But it's wild to know, when you know the person and you know what they're capable of, and that this isn't, their reality, that she was walking around, she was doing amazing.
And it's hard when you watch that.
Yeah.
The deterioration of it. And like you said, what her normal is, but nobody else really knew what her normal is. However, when you sit back, because she was pretty much normal and only had that short amount of time that she truly suffered, it is kind of a blessing in disguise, as hard as
Yeah,
it is to look at
I
it that.
agree.
But at
Yeah,
least it didn't go on for years and years and
exactly.
years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, she sounds like an amazing individual. So tell me then why you guys decided to start Judy's Angels.
Okay, so we just think compassion needs to be restored in healthcare big time. Just like that doctor that we had experienced, though he's just one in a sea of many. Um, it's just that I mean, I felt so blessed being able to be right by my grandma's side for the last month, but it was bittersweet because I was able to be her angel. At the same time, I also had to feel the intense, vulnerable feeling of having her, having to be taken care of by people who you just can't think, can take care of somebody as much as you can. Um, just like when I would take my kids to daycare, you're dropping them off, you're feeling completely vulnerable that you just hope that they're cared for in the utmost fashion that you would, yourself. And I noticed, she was hoping for certain workers to be working, and I could tell when she didn't want certain workers to be working, and I'd ask, what's wrong with so and so, and she would say, I can tell that they don't care, or I think they're just here for a paycheck. And it was incredibly sad to me that she was dependent upon people who she could sense if they were really wanting to help her or if they were just trying to hurry up and get to the next task.
Mhm.
And I think as healthcare workers, we all have jobs that need to be done by a certain period of time. But I also think it should be in our job description that we should uh, transition through all of our tasks with compassion for our residents, being the number one priority. You know,
Well, and I think that so many times too, the healthcare workers don't understand that that healthcare worker may be the only person that they see that day.
yeah,
That they
yeah,
don't have that, a lot of times, unfortunately, people are put into healthcare facilities and then they're left there. And the
exactly.
family very rarely comes to visit. And so
Yeah,
that one person may be the only connection that they have to the outside world.
exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think they realize that.
Yeah, that's why we need to be 110%. I mean, it's just if we look at it as we're working with machines, we're just going from step one, step two to step three. We're setting ourselves up for failure. Our tone and our presence is it's strongly felt by our patients. They can sense our truth whether we're good seeds or bad seeds. And the fact is, if we're in the healthcare field, our truth should be that we want to help people. We want to go above and beyond. That's why we got into healthcare in the first place.
That's
Our
right.
our residents should never sense that we're irritated or that we're mad. They are there. They're with us to get better, and that's all they should be worried about is getting better.
And
You know,
what is your background? Are you
so
occupational therapy?
physical therapy.
Physical therapy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. And so you went into that right after you graduated from high school?
yeah. Well, I took 2 years off and then I started. Yep.
And what drove you to go towards a physical therapy degree?
So when I was in high school, we didn't have to take, it was actually an elective. I wanted to take continuing health classes. So it was like a level 2 health class. And in that health class, we had to job shadow because I knew I wanted to go into the healthcare field. I just didn't know what. And so in that class, we had to job shadow a bunch of different healthcare, options. And so I had job shadowed at McDonald's physical therapy, and I knew that that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach people how to walk again. I wanted to teach people how to, uh, you know, start from the bottom and go all the way back up to the top where they were. So,
That's awesome. And
yeah,
that's what's gratifying, right? And there
yeah,
aren't a lot of jobs that you get to do that when you watch them
no,
come in and they hobble and then you
exactly,
watch them work on their gait and they can walk clear across the room where when they came in, they couldn't do that. So
exactly,
there
yeah,
is something gratifying to that. And you wish that more healthcare workers would understand and feel that same gratitude, right? That
yeah,
those
yeah,
little things, the improvements that the patients make, you wish that they could really appreciate that.
yeah. And you would think if we're in the healthcare field that that's why we got in there, but it's amazing to see the lack of compassion
And
sometimes.
so, right. So, why do you think that compassion needs to be restored in healthcare?
So I just, with the whole compassion fatigue, first of all, the compassion fatigue is uh, the best way that I can describe it is when a healthcare professional struggles with their response to the trauma suffered by the patient. So it may be routine for us as healthcare workers to deal with these traumatic events. It's not for our patients, you know. Most of the time, this is their first time that they're having to deal with something like this, and they're emotional, they're scared, they're nervous, and we know what we're looking for, you know, as a healthcare worker, but they don't. And it's our job to calm them down, you know, in a compassionate way. I was just talking to somebody the other day, an instant example of compassion fatigue. This nurse was in the hallway and she was saying that this patient was having chest pains, and she was asking the doctor to come check out the patient. And the doctor looked at the nurse and said, "So am I."
Ugh.
Like he's having chest pains too. And that right there is compassion fatigue. And I've seen stuff like this happen in front of patients where you do that, you gasp and you're like, oh my gosh, like where's the compassion at? You know, it's just the compassion. and and I don't know, that somebody once told me compassion isn't something that you can be taught. It's something that you're born with. But I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. I hope it is something that we can teach. And I just, after observing people, I think it's very apparent that some people got 2 servings of compassion and others were definitely shorted. Uh, there's just a, you have to be very careful, because if I got stuck in a rut a few years ago and I was trying to combat this, and if you focus on the bad and you only see the bad, it can pull you down into a deep depression. When you're constantly pointing out the bad, it's just that there were times that I was driving home crying almost every day, you know, and wherever you go, there's going to be issues. There's going to be the good. There's going to be the bad. What matters is how we react to them. So if we look for the bad, we're going to find it. If we look for the good, we're going to find it. So pointing out the wrong doesn't make people want to change. It just makes them want to avoid you. So if we're going to make a change and we're going to tackle compassion, we have to encourage potential. We're going to have to lead by example and shine on the great compassionate caregivers that we do recognize, and put them upon the pedestal that they deserve, and let them know they're immensely appreciated, um, and just praise the good. I'm hoping if we put people up on the pedestal, everyone will strive for this title of Judy's Angels. And the people that will be benefiting from all of this are patients, because they're going to be the ones that are receiving the utmost compassionate care.
And I think that compassion can be taught. You know, I know
Yeah.
you talk about doctors, and they used to they called it bedside manners, right?
Yes.
That,
Yes.
unfortunately, like the doctor that came in and delivered the news to your grandmother
Yeah.
must have missed the course on bedside manners. And
Yeah.
you're going to have some of those doctors that are going to be great and that you're going to love because they do have the compassion and the empathy. But by the same token, they've got a job to do too, and I
Yes.
understand that. But
Yes.
but it's certainly they can do their job with a little bit, like you say, a little bit more compassion. So, it would be interesting to know if there is a whole course when you go to medical school. Do they teach you how to talk to your patients? Do they teach you how to deliver that news? And same thing, even
Yeah.
just with like a patient care provider. Is that something that when they're going through those courses, do they teach them how to do that? Do
Right.
they
Right.
to be a good listener, and if the patient happened to get long-winded and they really did need to go to attend
Exactly.
to another patient, how
Yeah.
can you graciously step out of that room and
Exactly.
tell them that I'll be right back, instead of acting like you don't care, or that
Yeah.
what they're telling you isn't important. As I said,
Exactly.
that may be the only outside person that they've had come in. So
Yeah.
it would be really interesting. So how do you plan on combating compassion fatigue? Because you're with the physical therapy, you have a tendency, you're going to be with patients all the time too. So
Yeah.
what do you do besides just looking at the good all the time? What is it that you do for self-care to make sure that you don't end up with compassion fatigue?
So you just have to I don't really know how to explain. I look at everybody like they're my grandma, they're my grandpa. Like how would I want to be? It's almost like the golden rule, treat others how you would want to be treated. So I feel like it comes second nature to me. I want to go above and beyond for my patients. I just want to make sure that I am making all of my patients proud. I'm leaving them a lot better than when I left them. You just have to really just want to be the person going above and beyond for them.
I agree.
No matter what it takes.
That's right. So tell us a little bit more about how Judi's Angels works.
Okay, so the angel wings themselves have been made entirely from the donations from the community, and many family and friends have donated flowers and money for the floral purchases. Michelangelo's event company actually made a huge donation last year, and I've been working on the next couple of wings that are going to go out. I have a building that my Aunt Lori and Uncle Mark have nominated, and the second pair, they'll be going to a future nominated building. So all the nominations for that can go through Facebook and Instagram. So if anybody has a building that they would like to see a pair of the wings in, they can reach out and message us and let us know. And the same for recognizing angels in our area. I have a website that we're selling the Be Good shirts, and 100% of those proceeds go directly to the Angel Fund. So the fund allows us to be able to purchase the care packages that are given to the recognized angels, and they have some little goods in them with a little note that talks about Grandma Judi and some of her favorites. And the angel recognition, it's also running on the nomination system, so you can let my sister or I know who you would want to recognize, and just message us and tell us your story of why you're nominating them. Because what we want to do is saturate Facebook and Instagram with a whole bunch of these angelic notes that just that show people going above and beyond in our area and what they're doing to go above and beyond.
That's awesome. And so you have to share the story. So my note that I got in my little care package talked about your grandma and the love for the movie Dirty Dancing.
Yes, she is.
So you have to share that story.
Yeah. So my grandma, we used to watch Dirty Dancing with her, like on repeat. Some of the weekends that we would stay with her, we would just watch them. And she could recite the movie, forward and backwards. My sister and I could too. So she just, the whole I carried a watermelon, we used to laugh and chuckle at that all the time. And so in the little care package, there's that baby watermelon blush, because she loved her cream makeup too. She loved cream blushes.
Well, that's awesome. And I loved that. Well, and what I loved about that is that even though I never met your grandmother, after the note that I received, I felt like I did know her. And so just a little bit of an insight into who Judi was made the honor of being one of Judi's angels that much more special.
Oh, that makes me feel so good, because that's exactly what I want. I want everyone to know her. She was such an amazing person.
Mm-hmm. And what you girls are doing is amazing to be able to carry on her legacy. So we've got about 60 seconds left. So tell me, what was your favorite memory of you personally going above and beyond?
Okay, so I remember this one patient, my friend Amy and I, we were talking to him, and in between teaching people how to walk again and do the exercises, we usually talk about food. And so this guy was from Chicago, and he used to talk about how he loved home run and pizzas. And so we said, well, they have those at the store now. We'll go down to the store at lunchtime and pick you up one. And he's like, oh no, frozen pizzas aren't that good. And we're like, well, I have a pizzazz. I don't know if you've ever had a pizza on a pizzazz, but it makes it better than in the oven. So one day I brought the pizzazz in, and we went down to the store and bought him that pizza. And so we made it for him, and he didn't come down and get it. So we took it down to his room, and he was feeling very tired, that day. And he had 30% ejection heart rate, which, I mean, it's very dangerous. We knew that he wasn't going to be here long, and so we were just so happy that we could give him that pizza, and his eyes lit up when he seen it. So he said, I'm going to get up and eat it here in a little bit. So Amy and I went back down, and we were doing therapy with other patients, and we looked down the hallway, and we noticed a commotion, and somebody was down in the hall, and the nurses were giving him CPR, and we thought, oh my gosh, that's not him, it can't be. And so we waited for everything to settle down, and we went back down there, and the nurses let us know that it was him and that he didn't make it. But we went to his room, and the pizza was gone. So he got his pizza. So that's my favorite story.
And what a great send off
Yes.
for him. What a great send
Yeah.
off for him.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
Yeah.
tell people where can they find out more about Judy's Angels?
Okay, so we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram, and it's at Judy's Angels 222. And on the Instagram and on the Facebook, there's a link that goes to our Be Good shirts, and the Be Good, all of the proceeds for that will go towards the Angel Fund. 100% goes to that. So
Awesome.
we're on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Ashley, for joining us today. This was phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you have any questions or comments about the guest today or would like to know more about Hello Gorgeous, feel free to contact me at kbecker@hellogorgeous.org or visit our website at www.hellogorgeous.org. Thank you for joining us today on Hello Gorgeous, Everything Beauty, Cancer, and Inspiration. I'm your host, Kim Becker. And until next time, stay gorgeous.
Another beautiful day, walking in the sunshine, spending the time with you. Last night we had a good time, dancing in the moonlight and loving the night away. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like without you. I can't imagine that.